Let's talk live now on the programme to Dr. Andreas Krieg, an associate professor at the School of Security Studies at King's College London. Thank you for being here with us. What is your assessment of what we've seen?
This is a highly symbolic moment. I mean, Sinwar has been the kind of embodiment of evil for most Israelis, especially after the 7th of October. Seeing him killed now certainly led many Israelis to believe that this might be the kind of victory narrative that Netanyahu was waiting for, and that this might be the beginning of the end of the war in Gaza. I'm a little bit more pessimistic because, first and foremost, I think Sinwar was the guy who was running the show, and he has been for a while. There's been a disconnect between, the political office that's based in Doha and also the militant organization based in Gaza. And Sinwar has been able to kind of monopolize all of it. With him now being killed, we're in a situation where the organization, which is a networked organization, will essentially be led from the ground on the tactical level without a central core in the network to function. That A means that resistance is likely going to continue, and B, in terms of negotiation, the big question mark is who are you going to negotiate with if there is no central command within the network to get the hostages back?
Well, that's a really interesting point that you end on, because as you're talking to us, we're looking at the live pictures from Tel Aviv of the variety of hostage families out there in the square making their point. Because do you think this actually brings any sort of negotiations? Does it put it further away as opposed to being closer?
What we've seen in the past, the decapitation strikes with which Israel was very successful in actually taking out leaders both of Hezbollah but also of Hamas in Lebanon, but also in Gaza. We've seen that they've been fairly successful in taking the people out. But what has come afterwards are usually more radical people. And the biggest drawback for mediation negotiation in Gaza has been the fact that Haniyeh was killed. He was somewhat a person who could make difficult decisions, make them appear easier, and make it a way for Hamas and especially Sinwar to agree to certain concessions that were unthinkable. Now, Haniyeh is gone, Sinwar is gone. It's going to be very difficult for the Egyptians and the Qataris, who have been, on the forefront of that mediation process, to find a partner on the ground they can actually negotiate with. And so that might leave Israel now with a fighting force, a network fighting force on the ground that will continue to resist in small cells,
yes,
but actually unable to find the hostages that they need to find.
Is the most likely events of the next few days that, in a sense, strategy in Gaza is paused, or continuation of what we're seeing, and then the focus again returns to what they do about Iran?
Oh, absolutely. And I think we've already seen this. The battlefield in Gaza has been relegated or deprioritized as a sort of secondary priority over what's going on in the north. So we've seen a centralization or prioritization of supplies, of logistics and capacity at the northern border. And we always see, Israel is very much preparing for the strike on Iran. So I think this kind of gives Bibi a bit of breathing space, Netanyahu breathing space, to actually kind of focus away from Gaza, because he has a small, albeit operational, victory there, and can now rely and focus on the things that are far more pressing for Israel when it comes to security and stability, and that's the strike on Iran, and obviously the continuous very atrocious war in southern Lebanon.
Dr. Krieg, we have to leave it there because we're coming to the end of this particular part of the programme. Thanks, though, for joining us. Thanks for that analysis as we